Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 152 of the BoxHard Podcast. I am your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by the elusive, the infamous, the very tricky man himself, Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joe. Yourself?
Very good, my friend. Very good. Let's dive straight into the review part of the show. There's quite a lot to go over. We're going to start at the Tractor Sport Palace in Russia. One fight to mention over, or two fights actually to mention over here. We have former world champion Denis Lebedev. He picked up win number 31. He's got two losses also. It was a KO in the third round against Hizny Altunkaya. Again, that is a guy that fought Bebut Shumanov a few weeks back for the regular WBA cruiserweight title. So yeah, that is a back-to-back loss there for Altunkaya, a man with a very padded record, 30-3 now. Denis Lebedev, 31-2. Moving up to the main event though, Zor Abdullayev, a young undefeated prospect from Russia. He had a few decent names on his resume. He now moves to double-figure wins. He's 10-0. He successfully defended his WBC silver lightweight title against friend of the show, Henry Hank Lundy, 29-7 now with one draw. Very, very tough loss for him. I know he was gutted to fly all the way from Philadelphia to this place in Russia called Chelyabinsk, or something like that. Chelyabinsk, I think it's called. So yeah, very, very tough for him. A real nice guy. I'd like to see him in a couple of big fights, really domestically. I think there's a few prospects coming through that he could test, if not beat. And I think, you know, there's some exciting fights for him down the line, but it is a very, very tough loss to go on the road and lose. Like I say, it was a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. From what I've heard, it was quite a close fight, though. So all the very best to Hank Lundy. Honestly, one of the most eccentric characters that we've had on the show. Always a very good interview when we have him on. That's it for Russia though. Moving over now to the Val Sports Arena in Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. A couple of fights to mention here. This one was an MTK show. We had Liam Williams. He got in the ring with Craig Nicholson, who was actually a late replacement. Craig Nicholson was KO'd in 2 rounds. Apparently the second round actually included a long delay because the top rope in the ring actually snapped, so they needed to repair it and then put it back together, kind of thing, and then they continued the round. But even still, Craig Nicholson could not get through that second round and he was KO'd. Like I say, it was actually a body shot. It was a left hand to the body from Liam Williams. His record now 18-2 with one draw. Craig Nicholson 4-3 with one draw. Craig Evans was on the undercard. He moved to 18-2 with 2 draws. He outpointed Jordan Ellison over 6 rounds. There was actually a delay in the final round in this fight as well, because the opponent, Jordan Ellison, his right glove had to be changed because he somehow managed to get a hole in the thumb of the glove. So a few bizarre things happened on this show here. Cody Davies, nothing bizarre about this one. He moved to 7-0, a TKO in round 2 against Yevgeny Andreevs, who now has a record of 10-99 with 3 draws. Again, not a man that gets stopped too often, if I'm not mistaken. So Cody Davies done really well to get the stoppage there. Aside from that, there was one other thing that we should mention. In one of the undercard fights, one guy was floored twice in the 5th round, and the fight was waved off immediately because the medical team had to jump in the ring and give a guy oxygen before taking him away in an ambulance. So a few crazy things happened here. All the very best to that man I mentioned there. His name is Jules Phillips, 2-21 now. That's really it for that one. Moving over now to the Bendigo Stadium in Victoria, Australia. A couple fights to mention over here. We had the son of former world champion Costa Tszyu. We have Tim Tszyu. He moved to 11-0. He actually took on a guy called Marcos Cornejo, who had a record of 19-3. Of his 19 wins, 18 came by knockout. I thought that this could have a little bit Amir Khan, Breedis Prescott written all over it, especially the coincidence that Amir Khan was fighting the same evening. I thought, do you know what, this could be a real banana skin, but Tim Tszyu knocked his man out in the very, very first round, so what a win that is, a first round TKO. Tim Tszyu, like I say, 11-0, perfect record. He was in there with a puncher and he didn't need to take a shot. But the main event here, Andrew Maloney, 17-0, a prospect, obviously the twin brother of Jason Maloney, who's being entered into the World Boxing Super Series. But Andrew here defended successfully his WBA Oceania Super Flyweight title against former world champion and former opponent of Cal Yafai, Luis Concepcion. 37-7 him now. It was a TKO in the 10th and final round. Very nice win there for Andrew Maloney. Very, very impressive actually to get Concepcion out of there. That was good for him. 18-0, a gut check that he's come through there. Moving over now to Zagreb in Croatia. We have one fight to mention over here. Olympic bronze medalist Filip Hrgović. He moved to 6-0. He also picked up the vacant WBC international heavyweight title against I want to say a bit of a veteran, I suppose you could say. I think he's 47 or 48 years of age. Amir Mansour, 23-2, now 23-3 with one draw. A KO in the third round. Hrgović certainly showing us he is the real deal there to get a knockout of Amir Mansour. And this one was the big one. Well, one of the big ones, because I'm forgetting that the real big one, in my opinion, happened over in the States. But this one was the big one, certainly from a UK standpoint. It happened at the Arena Birmingham in West Midlands, United Kingdom. Let's start with the undercard here. Kez Ashfaq moved to 3-0, a KO in the very first round against a guy who was 0-1 called Gary Austin. Lewis Ritson picked up win number 17 at 17-0 now. He's got a big fight for the European title coming up against Patera, so it was really just a keep busy thing for him. A third round KO against Oscar Amador. The fight itself, though, I mean, Amador did actually come and give it a go, especially as soon as the first bell went. He really tried to put the pressure on Lewis Ritson. The referee actually stopped the action 5 times in the first round, along with a couple of words that he shouted at Amador. And he was just telling Amador off constantly. He just could not get off his case. It's like the referee just wanted to be on TV so bad. It was really annoying. And, he was telling off Amador for low blows, and then he was letting Ritson land his own low blows, and he wasn't saying anything. The knockout, like I say, came in the third round. It was called a body shot, but to me it looked like a temple shot, and Amador didn't want to carry on at all. I'd actually call it a quit, to be honest, even though the guy came to give it a go. But one thing that I did notice, about 2 seconds before the finish, Ritson made a cross with his arms. It was like a West Ham X-style cross of arms. And it was either his way of saying, stay down when I'm about to hit you, or saying this is over, and it seriously was. So a good little finish there for Lewis Ritson. Big things for him very much in the near future. Also, Gamal Yafai got a knockout in round 7 against Brian Marina, who had a record of 10-1 with one draw. That's a brilliant win there for Gamal Yafai. 16-1 now. Ryan Kelly moved to 12-1. He picked up the win against Kelsey Ball, who was 9-0, undefeated, now 9-1. It was a TKO in the very first round for Ryan Kelly. That's really Kelsey Ball's first step up, and he got absolutely obliterated there. That one was for the Midlands area super welterweight title. Talking of super welterweights, though, Ayaz, Sam Eggington, 23-4. He was in there against a late replacement, Hassan Mwakinyo. It was a serious homecoming kind of showcase fight, really, for Sam Eggington, I'm guessing, before he moved on to big things. You were saying it to me as well, Ayaz. The Brandon Rios fight could happen really soon for Sam Eggington. No way, Jose, after that performance. Absolutely shocking to see what happened there, Ayaz. What did you make of that one?
What can I say? It was a very shocking fight. Like I said to you last week, when I heard Sam Eggington, I was like, yes, it's Sam Eggington's hometown of Birmingham, in a big crowd, and I thought the fans were going to get behind him, but he got knocked out. Obviously, it was a very bad fight for him as well. I don't know where he goes from here. I thought personally, I thought if he won this fight, he would have fought Brandon Rios. I think if Brandon Rios fought him, I still reckon Brandon would have beaten him. But where does Sam Eggington go from here? I'm not quite sure where he goes.
Let's just note a couple of things here. It was a late notice opponent. Eggington was much, much, much bigger in terms of stature and size. Eggington, we're being told, had trouble making 147. He comfortably can make the 154 weight limit, so there's no excuse about the weight. Eggington was much more experienced than this guy, and Eggington is even the older guy. I mean, he's slightly older than this guy here. This guy was a young fighter with a very limited amateur career, if any. And Eggington's usually used to fighting guys that have much more experience than this guy. And this guy actually hadn't beaten anybody of note at all. And this guy had also been knocked out once himself. Eggington had never been stopped in his 4 losses, and boom, just like that. Also, another thing, this guy, he actually had another fight scheduled for a later date, so if he got knocked out or he lost to Eggington, then he probably wouldn't have been able to make that date. I guess he simply couldn't afford to lose. Credit to the guy, though. The fight itself, I mean, in the first round, Eggington was probably winning the round until the last sort of 10 or so seconds where he got caught a few times, and for some reason he drops his hands when he's being hit, almost some kind of bravado, I want to break your heart kind of thing. And I remember he did it against Paulie Malignaggi with a few seconds left in the round, and it was quite stupid from him, and he admitted it at the time. I think he said it to me on this show, he said it was quite stupid of me, and he shouldn't do that. Obviously, he knows that. And, to just sit there and start giving away 3 shots on the chin, they do take their toll. They always do. So he did that. So there was a few little shaky seconds in the last few seconds of that first round. And in the second round, Eggington got caught quite early. And he did block a good amount of shots, to be honest. He showed a bit of decent defence, but he did get hit again and again and again, because this guy was just unloading everything. He was throwing the kitchen sink at Eggington, and it did end up taking its toll, and the referee needed to jump in before Eggington got put to sleep, really. I think the referee saved Eggington from being probably a few seconds away from being on a highlight reel in terms of being knocked out. It was really one-sided. And this guy here, Hassan Mwakinyo, 11-2, as I say, brought in for late notice, brought in to completely beat the hell out of, and it's gone awfully wrong for Sam Eggington. And it just goes to show, I guess, Ayaz, what can happen if your eye is not on the prize, and you're looking over guys to take on future opponents. Like we say, Brandon Rios. There was a lot of talk about that fight. No way is that now going to be happening. So yeah, very gutted for Sam Eggington, a friend of the show, of course, and we wish him all the very best. A lovely, lovely guy. Great story behind him, and it's very gutting, to be honest, that this has happened the way it's happened. He's lost 4 fights before. He'd never been stopped, and this is the first loss by a knockout, and this guy really shouldn't have been able to get near him. So Sam Eggington now 23-5, Hassan Mwakinyo 12-2. Scott Fitzgerald 10-0 took on Craig Morris 10-1 with 1 draw. It ended up being a TKO in the 10th and final round. Morris was TKO'd with a left hand in the final 45, I think, seconds or whatever. But the fight itself, I mean, Fitzgerald was very, very fortunate to get the knockout. Both guys were tired as hell. No complaint by Morris though. It was a shame, really, because there was only, like I say, about 45 seconds or so to go, and it was a real close fight at that stage. The referee didn't really show any hesitation. I felt it was a little bit harsh. I mean, there's a few people that have been reacting to this on social media saying they should have really given the guy a count, seeing as it was the final round, seeing as it was such a close fight, seeing as there was only about 40 seconds left in the round. But it was what it was. Scott Fitzgerald, I mean, I think he showed a few weaknesses there, and Anthony Fowler was a keen observer in attendance there, and obviously that fight between those guys is something that looks to be inevitable, and I definitely have to favour Fowler on that performance there. But moving up the card once again, Jason Welborn 23-6 took on Tommy Langford 20-2. It was a rematch for the British middleweight title. It ended up being a split decision over 12 rounds. Langford was down late in the first round, And he was also down in the third round. But once again, a very close fight. And, it was a great fight the first time round. But this fight here, I only saw the 2 knockdowns and the final round. Both of them were absolutely finished in the last round. They almost stopped each other multiple times. They completely emptied their tanks. And it's been proven now, unfortunately, that Langford doesn't have a great chin. This wasn't a fluke. He shared 24 rounds with Jason Welborn now, and he's come up short twice. And I know that some boxers have bogeymen, and they lose to guys that they perhaps shouldn't, but that usually happens at a much higher level for guys that really do have true potential to go on to world honours. He's been dropped 3 times in total now across 2 fights by Jason Welborn, who isn't a big puncher, and to get dropped early in both of those fights means that it wasn't even down to being tired or anything like that. He simply couldn't take the shots from Welborn, and I think it's over now for Tommy Langford, unfortunately, at European level and world title level for sure, which he was once upon a time closing in on at one stage, which seems really mad. You can't lose like this and become a world champion. I'm sorry. Tommy Langford's a nice guy. He's been on the show, but he is in a very, very bad place right now. He needs to change something urgently. It was close, though, on the cards, and I didn't see the fight in its entirety, so it may have been much closer than what I've made it out to be, but a guy like Langford should be schooling Welborn if he's as good as we once thought he was. But credit to Welborn, you've got to take nothing away from this guy. He's certainly had many, many ups and downs, to say the least, and to actually come back, win a British title from a champion, rip it away from them, have a fantastic fight with them, get the nod even though you were a massive underdog, and then have the rematch to prove it's not a fluke and drop the guy twice. That is a real thing there, and he showed a lot of character there, Jason Welborn. So a very worthy British champion. His record now 24-6. Tommy Langford, not quite sure where he goes from here, 20-3. All the very best to both men there. And the main event here, Amir Khan 32-4 stepped in against Sammy Vargas 29-3 with 2 draws. Vargas was down in the second round, and he was also down in the third. Khan was also down in the second round, though. Very, very shaky performance, Ayaz. Never do we ever see Amir Khan in a fight that's boring. He's always in exciting fights. Sometimes it's a bad thing for his part, though. He's got the vulnerability. He always has it in every single fight, unfortunately. So not fantastic if you're a big Amir Khan fan, but, for those that like to see a good fight, he always provides that. What did you make of it?
It wasn't the best performance as Amir Khan. I'll tell you why. The reason is Amir Khan didn't take this fight very seriously. Why? Because he's looking past him and because he wanted a big fight between the Pacquiaos and the Kell Brooks. Now, this is the thing. In the fight, Amir Khan dropped him. Then he got Sammy Vargas dropped him, and then Amir Khan dropped him again. It reminded me of the time when Amir Khan fought Julio Diaz, and when he first came back to Sheffield to fight. Back to England after a long time when Julio Diaz dropped him in the 11th round. He used his hand speed, and now you can tell he still got the speed. But with this fight, I personally think Amir Khan did good, but it was okay performance. But the thing is, now that Amir Khan's won this fight, he's chasing that fight against Pacquiao again. I personally wouldn't chase that Pacquiao fight. Now I know facing Manny Pacquiao is a very big thing. Obviously, he's a 8-division world champion. He's a legend in the sport. He's a Hall of Famer future. Now, I personally wouldn't chase that Pacquiao fight once again because Khan's been chasing it in the past and he's been let down. Obviously, he wants to fight Pacquiao in December. If Pacquiao doesn't fight him, personally, I'll go for the Kell Brook fight. I think it's a bigger fight in the UK. It'll make more money, and it's a fight for the British fans that they won't forget it. Obviously, we don't want it to be like another Ricky Hatton versus Junior Witter. Obviously, the reason we shouldn't go for the Pacquiao fight is because he's going to be waiting a long, long time again. So what I'll personally go for the Kell Brook fight.
Yeah, I mean, with what you said there, Ayaz, just in regards to what you said there, I still think that the Brook fight's always going to be there for Khan, unfortunately, even though Eddie Hearn says if it doesn't happen next, then it will not happen. I'm not quite sure if I believe that. I still think that it's always going to be there, even if he lost to Pacquiao. If he was to beat Pacquiao, then of course it'd make it bigger. So I think even though he probably should take the Brook fight, I mean, if it really is true about if he doesn't take it now, then it won't be there, then of course, yeah, the Brook fight, I'd guess, probably generates more money. But if it's always going to be there, then I'd say that really and truly he should probably take the Pacquiao fight, and then win, lose or draw, the Brook one is there to fall back on. But yeah, the fight itself, I mean, it was an exciting fight as always. Like I say, with Khan, blistering hand speed. He was certainly working a lot with his left hand, which I did like to see. He showed a fantastic jab, very, very quick hooks. And like we say, he dropped Vargas in that second round with a lovely combination. I don't really think he actually hurt Vargas too badly, but he overwhelmed him and he knocked him over. So a fair knockdown. And then, of course, Khan, with about 4 or 5 seconds to go in that same round, he walks in, Vargas falls short with a jab and follows up with an overhand right over the top. Down goes Khan. To Khan's credit, he didn't look too badly shaken. He can recover frighteningly quickly, actually, from a knockdown. But once again, I mean, he proved that you just never know what's going to happen when Khan is in the ring. Khan scored a knockdown, like I say, in the third round, which I didn't actually agree with. I felt it was a bit of a shot in the back of the head, really, but it is what it is. It didn't matter too much. Khan did demonstrate a very spiteful, beautiful and speedy jab throughout the fight. He looked as good as ever. Definitely, I'd probably say that was something to do with Joe Goosen. Some people say that watching Khan is always exciting, and it is true. But for Khan fans, it's the most nerve-wracking thing imaginable. I mean, I'm a massive Amir Khan fan. I do love Amir, but for the whole fight, I was sitting there biting my nails. But it has to be said, Vargas wasn't a massive puncher, and anyone with a solid punch, I believe, would take Amir Khan out. I think that Brook would stop him. I think that Manny Pacquiao probably would too. And, it's hard to say that because I think Khan is such a brilliant fighter, but the chin is such a weakness that, it kind of overrules everything, really. It's just, it can all come undone with one shot for Amir Khan all too often. In the 10th round, Khan was tiring visibly, and he was actually having a fairly good round until he got caught with a big shot on the chin and his legs buckled. But to be fair, it did look like his foot kind of got caught under him a little bit. It was crazy to think, Ayaz, that 2 of the Sky Sports pundits, I think it was Matthew Macklin and Johnny Nelson, one of them said a Khan knockout within 3 or 4 rounds, and the other one said a Khan knockout within 6 rounds. That was their predictions. We both predicted points, though, Ayaz, and we're not paid by Sky. But in the early parts of the fight, Khan's judge of distance was pretty good, but as I say, he tired late on. He couldn't judge the distance too well, and he was constantly on the back foot while Vargas was piling on the pressure. The thing is, he scores a lot of slapping shots when he throws combinations, and he's very hard to outpoint. So I had it very wide for Khan, even though Vargas did well in spurts, and you just can't deal with Khan's work rate when he's really on his job. But one note on Joe Goosen, he was urging Khan to be more aggressive and to go to the centre of the ring, which was actually scary advice, really, especially in the final round. He was telling him to do that, and I thought it was quite risky at that point because Khan was obviously leading very wide on the cards. But yeah, very tough fight for Khan, and certainly more mileage on that Khan clock, unfortunately. He's got to be very careful with his next couple fights. I think he should probably have maybe 1 or 2 more, then call it a day. Ayaz, would you agree with that?
I personally think yes. I think personally by end of 2019, I think yes.
I think Pacquiao fight, and then I'd probably say the Brook fight, and then that's it for me. That's what.
But then again, if the Pacquiao fight don't happen, where will he go from here? Another world title?
Well, I mean, if what do you mean? If the Pacquiao fight didn't happen next?
Yes, because there's a lot of people saying that if he doesn't fight Brook next, and Pacquiao doesn't fight, where does he go from here?
Because he'd fight Brook, though, wouldn't he? He'd fight Brook.
I don't think so, personally. I think Sean Porter. He'll try to go for Sean Porter, but I think Sean Porter will beat him.
Honestly, Sean Porter is all wrong for Amir Khan. That honestly, I don't even want to see that. Sean Porter would chew Amir Khan out and chew him up and spit him out.
Keith Thurman will beat him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Errol Spence will beat him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think Khan has only got 2 options. I think it's Kell Brook or Manny Pacquiao.
There is one more fight, which is a big fight for him, I personally think.
Don't say Danny Garcia.
Yes.
He's just come off a loss.
But then again, that's probably the big name fight for him.
Well, that's what Danny Garcia should be chasing because Khan's coming off a big win. He's coming off a loss. I think that Danny Garcia should want that fight, but realistically, I mean, what has Khan got to gain, really? I don't think it's a massive money fight, and he probably gets stopped again. So, unless you just want to avenge a defeat for ego purposes, I think I don't think that fight's right for him. I think if Danny Garcia was to have beaten Sean Porter, then yeah, I think it's three options for Khan. It's Pacquiao, it's Danny Garcia, or it's Kell Brook. But with Garcia losing, I think now it's just between Pacquiao and Brook, in my opinion. But yeah, either way, his next fight, I'm guessing, should probably be against one of those names that we've mentioned there. If not, then I'll be quite unhappy with that, to be honest. That's really it for that one, though. Moving over now to the Forum in Inglewood, California. A couple fights to mention over here. This was the Super-Flyweight card. I didn't watch it, though, unfortunately. So if there were any cracking contests, let us know and we shall watch them back. We had Kazuto Ioka. He fought for the WBC Silver Super Flyweight title against McWilliams Arroyo. I believe it was Ioka's belt. It ended up being a unanimous decision over 10 rounds in favour of Ioka. Arroyo was down in the third round and he was also cut in the 10th and final round there. Like I say, that one was for the Silver Super Flyweight title. Also on the bill, Donny Nietes, 41-1 with 4 draws, fought for the vacant WBO World Super Flyweight title against Aston Palikte. It ended up being a split draw over 12 rounds. Donny Nietes, another draw for him. That's his 5th draw now. And the main event, if I'm not mistaken, Juan Francisco Estrada, he picked up win number 37. He's got 3 losses. It was a win against Felipe Orokuta, who now has a record of 36-5. A unanimous decision over 12 rounds there for Estrada. Moving over now to the Barclays Center, though, the big one in my opinion. It happened over in Brooklyn, New York. Couple fights to mention on the undercard before we get on to the main event. We have Amanda Serrano. She picked up the vacant WBO World Female Super Lightweight title. I believe she's now a 6th division world champion. Now, forget about women's boxing and men's boxing. She is the only woman to have done that, and she joins a list of only 3 people, including herself now, who's managed to win a world title in 6 different weight classes. Manny Pacquiao, of course, on that list for winning 8. We also have Oscar De La Hoya on the list, and it's now Amanda Serrano, so she certainly goes into the history books there. Her record 35-1 with 1 draw. A brilliant fight could get made for her and Katie Taylor if Katie Taylor is able to beat Amanda Serrano's sister Cindy Serrano. I think that fight happens next month. I think it's October 20th if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the win was unanimous over 10 rounds against Yamila Reynoso, who now has a record of 11-5 with 3 draws. We saw Adam Kaunaki 17-0 move to 18-0, a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Charles Martin, former IBF heavyweight world champion. His record now 25-2 with 1 draw. We actually did the predictions on this. In fact, let me rewind a little bit there. We've done the predictions on a couple fights. We all went with Tommy Langford to win on points. We all got that very wrong. Well, not very wrong. It was still a split decision. We all went with Khan. Sorry, no. You and me, Ayaz, went with Khan on points. The listeners went with Khan by knockout. So me and you, Ayaz, gained a point there. And this Martin and Kaunaki fight, I went with Martin by knockout. I was being a little bit daring, I guess. You went with Martin to win on points. I thought that actually almost happened. It was a very, very good fight, that one, especially in the later part of the fight. And the listeners went with Kaunaki to win by knockout. We didn't gain a point there, any of us, because Kaunaki won on points. But the actual fight itself, Kaunaki was just, I mean, it's the first time I've proper sat down and watched him. I mean, I've seen a couple of his fights before, but actually sat down and studied. He was just plodding forward in the first round. Very, very clumsy. He was on the front foot, though, and he was probably getting the better shots off, but he definitely took a fair few shots early on as well. It was a close first round. I probably edged it to him. Charles seemed to have more to his game, but he was reacting the worst out of the two. When they were trading, Prince Charles Martin was actually reacting quite badly to the shots. He was really being moved back, and his shots were seeming to not really budge Kaunaki, to be honest. Both men were not in great shape. Martin was not fighting well on the inside. He wasn't using his distance. He wasn't using his reach. And I certainly gave the first 2 rounds to Kaunaki. Martin was throwing a lot of arm punches as well. He wasn't really punching through the target. He was, however, Martin, going to the body early, which I thought was very important at that stage. And it paid off a little bit towards the end, I guess. It was a better round for Martin in the third round. Very untidy heavyweight fight though. Lots of smothering. The speed was certainly with Kownacki. Martin was having a hard time, like I say, moving Kownacki back with any of his shots. Kownacki seemed to be able to walk through everything. He also didn't really look like a big puncher actually, Charles Martin, which is quite surprising really. Kownacki wasn't taking a step back, and in the sixth round the fight really did heat up. Both fighters were having big moments. I'd struggle to give Martin a round for the first 6 rounds really, even though the rounds were, well, some of them were close, some of them were competitive. And Martin, like I say, he was constantly going to the body of Kownacki. He was certainly trying to put those punches in the bank for later on in the fight, it seemed. In the 7th and 8th rounds, Kownacki was really slowing down and his work rate dropped noticeably. Martin did then start landing good power punches more frequently. He started to come on strong. Kownacki had a bloodied nose in the 9th round, but like I said, it was only a 10-round fight. Martin was taking over at that point, but with only 1 round to go into that 10th round, Kownacki, I think his other eye started to swell in the 10th, if I'm not mistaken. But honestly, the last minute or so of that fight, Charles Martin was all over Kownacki. And honestly, I think if there were 30 more seconds in the round, Martin was going to knock Kownacki out. Kownacki was absolutely done. Fantastic final round, though. Lots and lots of momentum switches. Martin certainly finished the stronger, though. He just seemed to take too long to get off. You know, in the early part of the fight, he gave away too many rounds before he started coming on strong. And like I say, when they both were going for it in the later part of the fight, Martin seemed to be a level above. But, you know, he started too late and that was it. But I didn't score the fight, but I felt like it was kind of like a 97-93 type fight in favour of Kownacki. I think the judges, or 1 or 2 of them, agreed with that scorecard. So it was what it was. A good win there for Kownacki. 18-0. Charles Martin back to the drawing board for him. Also on the bill, Dennis Ugas picked up win number 23. He's got 3 losses also. It was a win over Cesar Barrenuevo, who has a record now of 34-4 with 2 draws, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. Ugas looked unbelievable, by the way. Real impressive. But the main event, though, Danny Garcia, 34-1, former welterweight WBC world champion. He was in there to win his belt back. Of course, it was vacant. And in the other corner, the former IBF welterweight world champion, Mr. Sean Porter, 28-2 with 1 draw. I'll tell you a fun fact, Sean Porter fought and beat Alexander Usyk in the amateurs. Just think about that for a second. Absolutely bizarre. Sean Porter managed to win the fight unanimously over 12 rounds. A very, very good fight, by the way. A few cracking rounds. The first round, I felt that the first round was quite a close round. I think Garcia probably landed the only telling shot of that round. It happened in the last 2 or 3 seconds. It was a right hand. In the second round, I was very surprised at that point already to see Porter staying on the outside. He was giving Danny Garcia a lot of space and he was trying to box from a distance, and I just felt it was the wrong game plan for him to try and put out, really. Garcia certainly won that round with the cleaner shots. In the third round, Garcia was starting to make Sean Porter miss a lot. Porter was actually starting to look a little bit frustrated in that third. In the fourth round, that was where Porter definitely won the round. He seemed to bother Garcia with his power for the first time in the fight, and it was a nice lead left hook from Porter especially. He kept getting that shot off. In the fifth round, Garcia boxed really smart. He won that round. Sean Porter was still staying on the outside for too long. You know, this was in the fifth round, right? We're really approaching the midway point, and Sean Porter, I felt, needed to change his tactics. In the sixth round, it was a very close round. It was difficult to score. I'd probably edge it to Sean Porter, though. In the seventh, it was a very, very good round for Porter. He was jumping in and out. His left hooks were hitting Garcia's body at will. His wild overhand rights were really nice, and also a couple of headbutts here and there from Sean Porter as well. You know how he likes to get down. It was starting to get quite rough. It was starting to turn into Porter's type of fight at that moment. Angel Garcia was going absolutely crazy at Danny in the corner. A real nice seventh round there for Sean Porter. In the eighth round, Porter started, like I say, once again turning it into his type of fight. Finally, he was starting to do what he does, to use his roughhouse tactics to get on his man's chest and not fight from a distance. He was fighting up close. He was jumping in from unusual angles. He was putting the pressure on Garcia, and he was fighting at a tempo which Garcia didn't like. I had it 4-4 after 8 rounds. Porter won 4 of the last 5 rounds at that point. I think it was the fourth round, the 6th round, 7th and 8th. I think that's how I had it. Going into the 9th round, it was a close round, but I actually felt that Garcia probably got back to his boxing and he landed the cleaner of the exchanges. I had it 5-4 to Danny. In the 10th round, I definitely would say that was the round of the fight, to be honest. I felt that Porter won the round. It was a close round, but in the last 30 seconds, I felt that Porter did enough to steal the round. As soon as the 10-second clapper went, he let his hands go. He probably knew it was a close round and he wanted to steal it, which in my opinion he did. So I had it 5-5 going into the last 2 rounds. The 11th was a very, very close round, possibly a 10-10. But if I had to side with someone, then I'd probably give it to Porter. So on my card, I needed Garcia to win the 12th to have it a draw. And in that 12th, once again, it was a very close round. I felt that Garcia probably did just edge it. So I hate to say so, but I actually had it a draw after 12. Garcia, in that last round, made sure that he left it all in the ring. He certainly emptied his tank. When it went to the judges' scorecards, it ended up being a unanimous decision for Sean Porter. I'm happy about that. He was the underdog. He's due a bit of luck, really. Danny Garcia's had far too many very, very close fights go his way. I felt that Porter was due some luck. And Danny Garcia, where does he go from here? There's many, many fights for him. He's only lost to Sean Porter on points and Keith Thurman on points. He's got a fantastic chin. And to be honest, I would like to see him in there with any of the guys. I think you could make a real mix at that weight, really. I think Danny Garcia against Errol Spence would even be a good fight. I do rate Garcia. I wanted him to lose. I wanted Sean Porter to win. I also predicted a points win for Sean Porter on last week's show. There was no way anyone was going to get knocked out. That was just quite clear to me. I think Danny Garcia gives anyone a good fight. I'd even like to see perhaps him and Crawford. I think that'd be a great fight. We didn't get to see it at 140, which I think would have been nice. I think that Danny Garcia moved up a little bit too soon, but at 147 it would probably be a cracking fight also. So I'd like to see Danny Garcia in with anybody, really. But yeah, I was really happy because on the prediction league I gained 2 points this week. As you went with Garcia to win on points, so did the listeners. So the listeners gained 0 points this week. Ayaz gained 1 and I gained 2. That is what I need, a little bit more encouragement for me to try to take over. I'm still in 3rd place and I've been in that position for a long, long time now. But yeah, that's really it for the reviewing. Just before we wrap up part 1, the last thing to do is to welcome our very first undefeated guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former 2-time champion of the world. He's tall, he's black, he's handsome. It's of course Mr. Demetrius Andrade. Welcome.
Yo. How you doing? Thanks for having me on today.
Hey, it's my pleasure, sir. It truly is. First things first, Demetrius. Eddie Hearn, I've noticed he calls you Andrade. I've always called you Andrade. Who's saying it right?
Yeah, Andrade's good. I've been getting that mixed up because of people's nationality and the pronunciation of the nationality that they are. So it's as long as you say tall, black, and handsome, and you put that name to me, it's all good.
Okay. Eddie Hearn needs to change the way he's saying it. But yeah, Demetrius, we last spoke just a couple of days after your last fight, actually, against Alontes Fox. A long time ago now, almost a year ago. Nothing really inside of the ring has happened since then, only outside of the ring. You've now signed with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom USA. How did the whole thing come about, Demetrius?
Me and my partner Ed Favres, we had enough of the inactivity and the stuff that was going on in my career with the promoters that we had, and we made the decision to buy him out, and whatever it is that we had to do to get him out our way and out our life, man, that's pretty much what we did, and we got the job done, and then we just end up shopping around and letting people know we was a free agent from that point on. And Eddie's young, hungry, and he's trying to make a big statement in boxing and make his mark in the promotional world. And I'm pretty much trying to do the same thing. And he's continuing to show and improve. And that's somebody that showed me what he's capable of doing, on an international platform. And he can bring that international platform in the USA, and I can be able to, fight international and in domestic in the USA, I mean, that's two birds in one stone. So, it was definitely, I think, the best option for me to go with.
And I saw the DAZN announcement when all of Eddie's new signings were revealed. You were there on the stage, you were taking the mic, you were showing the people your personality. Now, I know your personality, Demetrius, and I've always felt that something was holding you back from fulfilling your potential, from being a superstar, really. And not many boxers have great personalities. You do. You must believe Matchroom USA and DAZN are the people to take your career and worldwide recognition to that next level.
Yeah, definitely. They can put me, like I said, international, USA, and show people what they've been missing on. And that is my charisma and the characters that I have and the personality that comes with me. And so with Matchroom and what they're trying to do and, the machine they have behind them, I mean, it's a perfect fit for me. And I know they're going to be dedicated and focused on, on me because, this is something new. I know they got other fighters and, other potential superstars, but to really kick the things off with, why not kick it off with Demetrius Andrade fighting October 20th for the middleweight championship of the world, one of the best cards he has for DAZN right now. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's a great matchup at the 160 weight division. Like this, now the elite is starting to fight the elite. This is my second time fighting at the 160 weight division, but I'm still a character that can be pound for pound. So
Absolutely.
Here we are.
Absolutely. And most importantly of all, like I say, or like you say, you're back in the ring. The date you mentioned there, October 20th in Boston. The last time you fought for a world title, obviously you had to go on the road to Germany. Now, despite Billy Joe Saunders being the champion, you've got the pulling power to bring him over to your backyard now. How happy are you that the fight's taking place in the United States?
Oh, man, I'm very excited that, Boston is pretty much my backyard. 30 minutes away from Rhode Island, and to have the, home field advantage finally, and to be able to fight in my backyard. It's been a long time ever since I turned pro to fight back home. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I'm more excited about getting back in the ring, and this fight could have been anywhere in the U.S., but I'm glad it's here. And I'm ready to rumble. It's time for people to recognize what they've been missing.
And Demetrius, what do you know about Billy Joe Saunders? I'm guessing you must have seen that Lemieux fight. Have you watched any others?
Yeah, I watched. I watched when he fought Willie Monroe. I watched when he fought David Lemieux. I definitely I am not like a fan, but I do like Billy Joe as a fighter. He is a good boxer. He's a fun guy too to watch as well. And now moving up to the weight class, now we have to fight each other, may the best man win. But I'm coming out with the victory. But it's fun though. It's a fun matchup when you look at it because we're going to have to tangle. Like we can't just box we can't run around the ring for the whole fight. And I'm a guy that can do a lot of things. So I'm looking to get him to get in the ring and let's tangle a little bit instead of him trying to box all over the place. But I'm fast enough and skillful enough to shut that down anyway. So eventually we're going to have to be in the middle of the ring.
Now, I want to ask you, are you anticipating that this will be the toughest fight of your career thus far? And I want to kind of turn this into two questions in one. Obviously, it's one day, I believe. I think last time you fought was the 21st of October last year. So just one day from being a whole year outside of the ring. Could that be a problem for being out so long?
Young, black, and handsome, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. That's not going to stop me or mentally put me in a freeze. I'm always active in the gym. I don't take months off and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I'm taking care of myself. My body is still healthy. My mind is good. I don't take punishment, and I don't need to. I could have went and did the tune-up thing and you know, fought maybe 2 tune-up fights before I fought anybody real. But you know, I've been in this boxing game for way too long to have to go that route. And I'm glad this opportunity came up when it came up, and the timing was perfect. So I'm ready to roll. You know, I'm ready to go. Once we get in there, you know, the cobwebs and all that other stuff, however they want to call it, ring rust, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
And Billy Joe Saunders in the past.
I know that's not going to be a problem.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. Now, Billy Joe Saunders in the past has been fairly disrespectful to some of his opponents. However, he's been pretty respectful of you so far. He even went on to say, or went on to go as far as saying that the winner of this fight is the true #1 fighter in the middleweight division. Some people disagree with that statement, though. What do you make of that? Is he right?
I mean, yeah, you know, he don't want to bark up the wrong tree, should I say? So, you know, he's definitely a smart guy. You know, I'm not none of them other guys that he fought. You know, we are one of the best in not just this weight class, but you know, I was the best at 154, and I couldn't get all the fights that I was looking to get. But now I moved up in at 160, and now I'm starting to tangle with the guys at 160, and now things are going to be able to happen, and we're going to see really who the best is because, you know, yeah, Billy Joe has been avoided in the past. And I also have been avoided in the past. I even tried to fight Triple G when that Canelo drug use came upon us. And that didn't happen. He went and fought a guy that I beat when he was 33-0, Ronald Monrozian. So that goes to show the type of moves that these people are making to try to secure, you know, their record or big money fights and not wanting to fight the best when it's like, you know, somebody like me and Billy Joe, we want to fight the best. We want to get in there. And, you know, we understand, I understand, like, you know, popularity is one thing, but, you know, fighting the best and claiming you're the best is another thing, you know. So right now, that's what we're on. We're on who's the best, and the popularity is going to happen. This is going to be the fight to make me a superstar.
Absolutely.
And for me, and once I come out with that belt, the only names that get mentioned around me, if I have to fight other fighters just to, you know, stay active, but the only fight, Triple G, Canelo, and the winner out of Danny Jacobs and Derevchenko. Those are the type of names, after I beat Billy Joe Saunders, is the type of people you compare me to and want me to get in the ring with.
Very exciting, because my next question was going to be that I'd imagine now that you're both signed with Eddie that the Daniel Jacobs fight would be a quite easy fight to make. Obviously, at the moment you're on different pathways, but I was going to ask you, is there anything stopping that fight from happening? It sounds like no.
You know, me and Danny Jacobs, you know, we grew up in the amateurs. We had fought each other. You know, at the end of the day, it's a business, and if that happens where we have to clash because it's a business, then, you know, may the best man win. That's what we have to do. And, you know, I think win, lose, or draw, we both are going to go home happy.
And you say you fought in the amateurs. I wasn't aware of that. Who came out on top? Was it just the one fight?
Yeah, we fought one time in the USA Opens a long time ago. So, you know, we have been in the ring together, yes. And it's your boy. Your boy came on top. Demetrius Andrade. What can I say?
And obviously, we're not too many days away now from Triple G versus Canelo II. Who wins and who do you want to win? Because I remember you made a hilarious video back at the time when that whole Canelo thing happened, and that had me dying, man. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, that just definitely was a funny little thing I did, but it sucked at the same time because it's like, yo, they should have made an example of Canelo. You know, he's one of the most popular fighters out there. You know, he's one of the most paid fighters out there right now. So therefore, that being said, he can get real time off the boxing world and get a fine if that was the case, and make an example of, because like I said, he made plenty of money. And we don't know how long he's been on drugs for, because he's been caught multiple times in this one case, and it sucks that he only got 6 months suspension and now he's fighting again. That doesn't like say if somebody's off drugs or not, because at the end of the day, you're never on drugs when you're in the ring. You're off it anyway because you get the benefits of it if you really know what how to use steroids, and it sucks. And I honestly don't care who wins. It just, I'm kind of turned off from the fact that this is happening all because of the money.
Yeah.
When you got fighters out there like me, Billy Joe Saunders, and other people that haven't, that are clean, that haven't got the opportunity to fight, the big names because, they're the most avoided, and, the popularity that comes with it right now, we're still working on that, and it just sucks.
Yeah, it is a very unfortunate situation. I think a lot of people out there want Triple G to win purely because of this whole shady business that, Canelo seems like he's been kind of cooking up for a while. Coming down to, like I said, the last couple of questions, Demetrius, how do you become the new WBO champion of the world October 20th? Does the fight go the distance? Do you outbox him? Do you stop him? How do you see it?
For October 20th, tune in. Get your seat, get your popcorn, get the zone, the app, and watch your boy going to work, and you're going to see how Dr. Andrade, put the surgery together on your boy Billy Joe.
And finally, Demetrius, obviously you've got a big fan base here in the UK. A lot of people know who you are. What is your message to your supporters over here that want to see you come out victorious that night?
After I whoop Billy Joe's ass, I would love to get out there in front of you and fight a mandatory or pick 'em fight, whatever. I would definitely love to make that happen.
Excellent. Listen, Demetrius, as always, it's once again been my pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for your time. Best of luck for the 20th of October, and we'll catch up sometime after for sure.
All right, thank you, and God bless, man. To everybody out there, you know what I'm saying? Thank you for the support.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Ayaz, what do you have for us? Take it away.
Yes. So Jake Paul has left Jimmy Mack and has teamed up with Dominic Ingle.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I do like Jimmy Mack. Obviously, he was a good fighter himself, and his relationship with James DeGale has at times been like father and son. It's been brilliant. So I've got a lot of admiration for Jimmy Mack. However, I do have to say he has had a very rough patch over the last 18 months or so. I think he's had 1 or 2 fighters walk out of his gym. Obviously, James DeGale against Caleb Truax, the first fight. James DeGale looked awful that night, and Jimmy Mack got the blame for it. There was going to be a chance of James DeGale even leaving Jimmy Mack. Jake Paul obviously got knocked out by J.J. McDonough. That was bad news for Jimmy Mack. And then, most recently, if I'm not mistaken, Reece Bellotti getting knocked out. And losing his Commonwealth title, I think it was that night. So yeah, he's gone through a bit of a sticky patch lately, Jimmy Mack. But Jake Paul, he's got a promising future. He's a hard-hitting, tall, rangy southpaw in the light heavyweight division. There's many fights that can be made for him. And, that Ingle gym's absolutely thriving at the moment, so I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of fantastic sparring in-house. So it can only be a good move, in my opinion. And all the very best to Jake Paul, a friend of the show. So, yeah, be interesting to see what happens next with him.
Yes, Frank Warren has announced an exclusive landmark multi-year broadcast partnership with ESPN and Top Rank Boxing to bring their events to America and Canada.
Yes, very, very big for Frank Warren. His first show will be shown on, I think it's the October 6th show. We're going to be speaking to a man that's actually going to be part of that show later on in the show. Sounds a little bit confusing, that, but yeah, a man that's fighting on that show we'll be speaking to later on in this podcast. So Frank's first show on ESPN is going to be on the 6th of October. It's brilliant for Frank Warren's stable. It's brilliant for boxing fans.
Alexander Usyk has signed a promotional deal with Matchroom Boxing.
Yeah, I mean, he's still involved with his promoters. I think it's very much like a co-promotional type kind of deal. Alexander Usyk, you'd be led to believe, wants to fight 2 men, and those men are Tony Bellew and Anthony Joshua. That's what we're being led to believe. So, those 2 guys are both with Matchroom. I think signing with Eddie was probably a good move to get those fights made. It will be much easier to do. He's showing his intent there, Usyk, and if the Bellew fight gets made, then it's probably going to be because of this. So it would look like he's certainly wanting to fight Bellew next, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gets announced very, very soon.
John O'Carroll has signed a promotional deal with Matchroom Boxing.
Yeah, John O'Carroll, undefeated boxer on the come up. He's been involved in a couple of Twitter spats recently with Tevin Farmer mostly. So he's a promising fighter, very good fighter, and he's very much improved. I think over the last sort of 12 months, he's come on leaps and bounds. He's beat a few good fighters along the way, and he's got a very exciting future. So to be with Eddie Hearn at this stage of his career can only be a good thing for him.
On October the 6th, Nicola Adams will be fighting for the interim WBO world title.
Yeah, she takes on former world title challenger Isabel Milan. That one's going to be on that October 6th show that I just mentioned a moment ago. That's going to be shown on ESPN as well as if I'm not mistaken on I think it's on BT Sport actually, not Box Nation. So yeah, big things for Nicola Adams there. Fantastic for her to get a shot. You know, even though it's an interim title, fantastic for her to get that. And I think if she wins this, then she's going to be fighting the champion very, very soon. So great stuff for her.
Finally, on October the 13th, Terence Crawford will face Jose Benavidez for the WBO world title.
Yes, Terence Crawford makes a defense in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. Like you said there, against Jose Benavidez Jr. That's the brother of David Benavidez, the super middleweight WBC world champion. So Jose Benavidez is an undefeated fighter. He's had a lot of back and forth with Terence Crawford over the years, and I'm sure he's very happy to finally get this fight made. So a big chance for Jose Benavidez Jr. He looked fantastic in his last fight. I think he knocked the guy out in the first round, and this is his chance to prove to the world that he is as good as what he says he is. And I'm certainly looking forward to that one. Actually, not too long to go. I'm hoping both men have had the right amount of time to prepare. I hope that they knew about this fight and it hasn't just been sprung on in the last week or so, which was when it got announced. So yeah, good fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And that's it for the news.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayaz. Moving over now to the preview part of the show. We're going to start at the Save Mart Arena in Fresno, California. We have topping the bill Jose Carlos Ramirez. He's the WBC World Super Lightweight Champion. His record 22-0. He was supposed to take on Danny O'Connor. Do you remember that a couple months ago when Danny O'Connor collapsed after the weigh-in because he absolutely killed himself? Well, yeah, that fight obviously fell through. But in steps Antonio Orozco, 27-0. A very, very good fight, this one. Orozco, very much a prospect on the up, but this is a huge test for him. I believe Jose Ramirez has that world title kind of experience. I think he's beaten the better fighters, really. It's a close fight, actually. A real intriguing contest there. And that one's tomorrow night, by the way. Also on the bill, we have friend of the show, Jamel Herring, 17-2. He looks to move to win number 18. He fights for the vacant USBA Super-Featherweight title against John Moraldi, whose record is 20-1. Decent fight to him. That's a great fight there. All the very best to Jamel Herring, former US soldier, a man that's been to Iraq on 2 different occasions, I believe, 2 different trips. A very brave human being there. Moving over now to the Friedrich Ebert Hall in Germany. 2 fights to mention over here. Vincent Feigenbutz, 28-2, takes on Yusuf Kangwell, who has a record of 16-2 with 1 draw. That's a 12-rounder there, no belt on the line. But the main event, Avni Yildirim, former opponent of Chris Eubank Jr., his record 20-1. That one loss to Chris Eubank Jr. He defends his WBC International Super Middleweight title against Lolenga Mock, 42-14 with 1 draw. Former opponent of David Hay. I remember Lolenga Mock knocking David Hay down once upon a time. That one will be pretty crazy to think he's at super middleweight. That is a 12-rounder, like I say. Moving over now, though, to the big one. There really is only one big one this weekend. Saul Canelo Alvarez Ayaz topping the bill. It's going to be on HBO pay-per-view. It's going to be on BT Sport pay-per-view. 49-1 with 2 draws. Alvarez, he takes on Gennady Triple G Golovkin, 38-0 with 1 draw. It's for the IBO, it's for the WBA Super, and it's for the WBC World Middleweight title. I also believe there's another nice strap on the line, though. A special strap for that occasion. A fantastic fight, Ayaz. All I want to say is I don't want to see a draw. I just want to see a brilliant fight. The first fight had so much to it. Lots and lots of thrills. I'm hoping this one's going to be very much the same.
Yes, I think it'll be a very, very good fight. I mean, I personally think we're going to see a new Canelo. Now, obviously, he's been banned because of the clan Butra thing, which he said we found drugs inside him because of the meat. I personally think like the last Canelo we saw was really big and powerful. I don't think it's going to be that same Canelo. I think it's going to be a very different Canelo. Obviously, I personally think the last fight, Golovkin got robbed. The judging was completely wrong, and in my opinion, obviously because of that, the fight came to a draw. But I think in this fight, I think Golovkin's winning this.
And how do you see it? Do you see Golovkin winning on points or by stoppage?
I see this fight, Golovkin winning on points.
Golovkin points, okay. Ayaz, you've gone with Golovkin points. The listeners have gone with Golovkin by knockout, actually. 53% going with that. Golovkin on points, 24%. 17% for Canelo on points and 6% for Canelo by knockout. I agree. No way will Canelo stop Golovkin. I'll be really shocked. I want to make a couple points here. Obviously, since Canelo's not accidentally consumed some contaminated meat, he has looked a lot more slender. He looks to not be as broad as he was last time. He looks a little bit drawn. He just doesn't look as big. Simple as that. So I'm intrigued because some people are saying, well, he looks a lot slimmer. That means that he'll be able to move more and he'll be faster and stuff like that. We're not too sure about that. But one thing that I'd say is a dead certain is the fact that because he's not as big, will he have the punch resistance that he had in the first fight against Triple G? That is something that we're yet to see. It's all very intriguing. I think that Golovkin is on the slide. I think that we all kind of know that, even though we really hope that that's not the case, especially for this fight. We want to see Golovkin crowned the rightful winner. He should have won last time. We all know that. I just think that Canelo is a guy that is very, very clever. He's a fantastic boxer with a brilliant ring IQ. I think I don't want to say he's so much improving, but I think it's difficult to kind of find where his prime is because he started so early on. He fought Floyd Mayweather, then he had a few fantastic wins after that, and he looked really good. In the first fight against Golovkin, he fought well, but he clearly lost, in my opinion. I can't say it with any certainty, but I just think that he's going to come back a little bit more improved, Canelo, and I think that Golovkin's got a little bit older, and I just think that, it pains me to say it, but I think Canelo on points. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. I hope that Golovkin wins the fight, but I think I'm going to have to go with Canelo on points because it was relatively close-ish. I say that, but I want to also add to that Golovkin clearly won, but I think it was like a 8-4 kind of fight. So a couple rounds the other way would have had it a draw, so it was a competitive fight is the right wording rather than close. And I just think that with Golovkin slipping a little bit and Canelo improving possibly, the whole Clenbuterol thing is a huge factor in this fight, and it's gonna prove to us the difference, really, because we should see an improved Canelo. We should see possibly a slightly improved Golovkin, or perhaps a little bit of one that slipped a tiny little bit. But Canelo should certainly improve from that last fight, with or without this stuff in his system. So intrigue. But I think I'm going to go with Canelo on points, and I just hope I'm wrong. I really do. I really do. Seriously, I hope Golovkin wins, but I'm going to go Canelo on points. Like I say, the listeners going with Golovkin by knockout. You're going with Golovkin on points, which I think is a fantastic choice. Moving down the undercard, David Lemieux has 39-4 takes on Gary Spike O'Sullivan 28-2. It's a 12-round contest, not a 10-rounder. The listeners are favouring Gary Spike O'Sullivan quite big here. They've gone O'Sullivan to win by knockout 73%, Lemieux 14%, very much less, and no one in their right mind thinks that this fight's going to actually go the full distance.
I mean, Spike O'Sullivan obviously is going up, is fighting a tough test, but if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with David Lemieux to win by knockout.
David Lemieux by knockout.
Because I still think he's a threat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think his boxing ability is fantastic. I do think that he can absolutely crack. And like I've said before, if you actually look at Spike O'Sullivan's resume, he's knocked out a couple of decent guys, but no one on David Lemieux's level. And to be completely honest, aside from Billy Joe Saunders and aside from Chris Eubank Jr., which are Spike O'Sullivan's two big names on his resume, he's lost to both of those guys. Aside from those guys, he hasn't fought anybody or knocked anyone out or beat anybody on the level of David Lemieux. So when you actually look about it and you look to see who Spike has knocked out, nobody near this level. David Lemieux, whatever you think about him, whether he's over the hill, whether he's not that good, whether he's one-dimensional, whether he's limited, he has got that equaliser in his right hand. And to be honest, he's done it on a much higher level than Spike O'Sullivan. So it pains me to say it, but I think I'm going to have to go with Lemieux by knockout. But once again, I really, really hope that Spike wins. Did you say Lemieux by knockout as well, Ayaz, or did you say points?
Yes, I said Lemieux by knockout.
By knockout, okay, yeah, so I have to agree. I hope that we're wrong. I hope that the listeners have got it right, because seriously, Spike, again, is one of the best guys that we've ever had on this show, and I wish him absolutely all the best. But it's a tough fight, and he knows it. He knows it's a tough fight, Spike. You know, we tried to get him on this show, and he hasn't been available because I know he's training his absolute nuts off. And I really hope that he can win the fight, because it's a brilliant fight. No way in the world can it go the distance, surely. Both men are knockout artists, and I just really hope that Gary Spike O'Sullivan does his job and gets the win here. And I'd love him to knock this guy out. There's been a lot of back and forth on social media, and Spike, as everyone knows, he's one of the most colourful boxers. He's one of the most funniest guys on social media, and I'd love to see him do it. Honestly, a great guy, and a fantastic fight. Really, really, really looking forward to that one. And also on that undercard, Ayaz, we've got Jaime Munguia, 30-0. He defends his WBO World Super Welterweight title. Obviously, Munguia coming off the win against Liam Smith. He takes on Brandon Cook, the man that was supposed to take on Kell Brook a few weeks back, and obviously that fight fell through. He was also supposed to take on Sam Eggington. That fight fell through, but he's here fighting for the WBO World title against Munguia, who, as we all know, is a real good fighter. How do you see that one playing out, Munguia and Cook?
Munguia versus Cook, I think it's, to be honest, like I've not really heard much about Brandon Cook. Obviously, if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go Munguia with the level of names that he's fought. So I'm going to go with Munguia to win by knockout.
Munguia by knockout, yep, I'm going with that. And the listeners, I'm sure have gone with that also. Let me just double check. Yes, 92% Munguia by knockout, 8% Munguia on points, 0% for Cook on points or by knockout. No one voted for Cook to win. Yeah, I see that as quite an easy win there for Munguia. Should be a decent card, though. I'm really looking forward to it. Also, we almost forget to mention, arguably, a former pound-for-pound #1 fighter, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, 46-2, takes on Moises Fuentes, 25-5, with one draw. If Roman Gonzalez, who has been in many hard fights, if he has got anything left, then he should beat Moises Fuentes. It's a 10-round contest there, but it just goes to show this man is, he's in a fight here, and we've mentioned it, fourth out of the other fights. It's not one of the big fights in my eyes on the bill. So all the very best to Chocolatito. He's a very likeable fighter, very good fighter in his day, and hopefully he can get a win here. Like I say, it's going to be his 49th fight, so hopefully he gets to 50 and perhaps calls it a day. It's not up for me to say, but he's been in a lot of fights now. Very underappreciated fighter for all the many fights that he was in. He only seemed to really get the world recognition during his last couple of fights before he took the loss, the back-to-back losses against Wisaksel Wangek. Very unfortunate circumstances there for Chocolatito. That's really it there. Moving over now to the final bill to mention. It's actually happening on Sunday, the 16th of September. It's happening at the Holiday Inn in Birmingham, West Midlands. One fight to mention, Frankie Gavin, 25-3. He's in a 6-rounder. His opponent yet to be announced. I'm guessing that's a bit of a keep busy fight before he takes on Kerman Leharaga, the man that knocked out Bradley Skeet. That one is supposed to be for the European title. So Frankie Gavin to fight that guy. I think it's happening in November, if I'm not mistaken. So Frankie Gavin's taking quite a risk here, actually, having that fight. Even though I think he should have took a warm-up fight probably a little while ago. But I think, it's a little bit risky with only about 8 weeks to go till fight night. So all the very best to Frankie Gavin, a friend of the show. His record, like I say, 25-3. Hopefully he comes through that and then goes and beats Kerman Leharaga. What a fantastic year that'd be for Frankie Gavin, a man that's been counted out many times. But that's really it for the preview, and we brought you the first guest, we brought you the news, we brought you the review and preview parts, and it's now just before we wrap up the show. It's now time to welcome our second and final undefeated guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the highly touted, undefeated super featherweight prospect, Mr. Archie Sharp. Archie, welcome back on the show, my friend.
How you doing, mate? Thanks for having me back.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, Arch. So we last spoke back in December. It's been quite a while, actually. It was just after your win at that time against Rafael Castillo. Obviously, you've had 2 fights since then. Both of them have been wins, one in February, one in June. But during the time that we last spoke, this feud has ignited between yourself and fellow prospect Lyon Woodstock. How did it all start, Arch?
Basically, he came around me one day asking for saying that they spoke to Frank Warren's office, and they basically said that Archie Sharp versus Lyon Woodstock, so we agreed to that fight. And then, I think there's just, by the sounds of it, they've been coming from the Woodstock side. They're saying that we called him out, but I think there's just been a miscommunication there too. Basically, it got put to us by Warren. We agreed to the fight, and then, now the fight's happening. So whether we called him out or whatever, it doesn't matter because the fight's on now, do you know what I mean?
And I believe there was a time where I think you wanted to get it on a certain date, and then Lyon didn't want it for that date, and then he wanted it on a certain date, then you wouldn't be ready for that date. Am I right in all that?
Yeah, that was a bit of back and forth. Yeah, that was happening. And then basically, the office told me that that they basically turned around and said to me, "Forget the Woodstock fight. It ain't gonna happen until September." So then I was like, no worries. And I flew out. I took the kids out and the missus out to Mexico. And then that was like 3-4 weeks before the June fight. It was only scheduled for an 8-pounder just to get with a tough opponent. So I went out to Mexico, and then when I was out there, they offered the fight. I said, well, training camp ain't right. Do you know what I mean? Ain't the right time. It's only 3 weeks till the fight. You can forget about it because I asked for 3 or 4 different dates, and I got told no on all of them. So it was just a bit of back and forth, and then that was it. But now October, so we both had our camps what we wanted, so there's no excuse for no man.
Absolutely. Now, you said it would only happen on your terms. He said it would only happen on his terms. It was a little bit, kind of back and forth with that. Seeing as the fight has ended up happening in Leicester, it would appear that the fight's kind of gone into his terms a little bit.
Yeah, you could say that. At the end of the day, as it was supposed to happen at the in September at the O2. Yeah. For whatever reason, I think Billy Joe or Frank was supposed to be headlining the show. That never happened. And basically, I don't think the card could sell the O2 out. So then they've ended up putting it up into Leicester. So it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? If you've got Leicester, it is what it is.
Yeah, doesn't really matter. It rings.
But yeah, exactly that. And the area wasn't really my problem. It was the matter of when the fight happened. That was when I wanted my terms. And in a sense, it has kind of happened in my terms because I did say I wanted it when we both have a 12-week camp, and that's what we've had. So it is what it is, isn't it?
And obviously, I did try to get you both on the podcast at the same time, but Lyon was unavailable. It's a shame, really, because it is what it is. But it would have been good to get you both on. I want to ask you, Arch, what do you know about Lyon as a fighter? What fights of his have you sat down and watched?
To tell you the truth, I've only seen the one fight, the once when he boxed Craig Poxton. That's the only fight I've seen of Woodstock. And I watched that live. I haven't watched it back since. So I watched him box Poxton, and to tell you the truth, like I say, I think he's a one-dimensional fighter. Do you know what I mean? He's a strong, fit kid. He beat over 10 rounds, and that's what you've just got to expect with him. But I think ability-wise, I don't think there's much there, to be honest with you.
And obviously, Archie, for the people that do know you, you're a very good boxer. You're a very dedicated athlete. You travel to spar some of the best talent that the UK has to offer in and around your weight. I don't believe you've lost a round as a professional, which says a lot. Obviously, you're a switch hitter. Exactly. You can punch with both hands, and you attack the body really, really well. One of the boxes that hasn't been ticked just yet in the pro ranks for yourself is the heart, Archie. Obviously, you need heart to succeed as a top boxer. Lyon showed bundles of heart in that fight against Poxton. He passed the gut check. You haven't had to do that just yet as a pro. Would you agree with that? Am I being fair?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I've been put to that test. But let's be honest, I could have easily been there if I just sat in the middle and just started slugging out with anyone. Do you know what I mean? So I know only journeyman, but some of the journeymen they're tough. And if you allow them to sit in the pocket and just sit there, they will be there with you, swinging away. But at the end of the day, I'm too clever for that. And if I've got to dig deep, I can dig deep. It's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? I know I've got plenty of art. Been in this game since I was 7. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm born to do. So at the end of the day, heart's not a problem. But listen, we'll see. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, the fight's in October. Like I say, Lyon Woodstock's got a lot of art. He's got a lot of fitness. He's strong. But at the end of the day, we'll see how strong his art is in October at the end of the day, because I'm going to put him a very, 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 very tough fight in front of him. And like I say, I'm going to pick up the WBO European title in October.
Now, I think in the eyes of some of the public, Archie, some people would favour Lyon in this fight. And I think that's probably simply because he's been on TV more than you have, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure of the official odds. I don't know if they've been released yet, but I'm intrigued to see what they are. But if you are indeed the underdog, how do you react to that?
If they want to put me in the underdog, they can. At the end of the day, that just shows there's more pressure on him. Do you know what I mean? If that's what they want to think, and they think that Lyon Woodstock's the man, then they can think that. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I say, when we get in that ring in October, it's only me and him in that ring, and it's down to me and him. There's no one else, do you know what I mean? And I'll show everyone why I'm the best.
And I've shown frustration before with the fact that you've been kept off of TV for the majority of your fights, but you must be absolutely over the moon that your fight will now not only just be shown to a UK audience, but also the American viewers. Obviously, it's going to be getting shown live on ESPN due to a deal that Frank Warren sealed earlier this week. Big stuff for you there, Arch.
Yeah, that's great. And then, like I said to everyone who I've done interviews with, everyone I've done interviews with in the past, yourself, everyone I've spoken to, I have told them that my time will come and my time is now. And it's just perfect. Do you know what I mean? It just goes to say you just got to wait for good things, and this is what happens. I've been waiting patiently. Good things are happening now, and I'm fighting for the WBO European title, not only on telly and BT Sport, but in front of an American audience. So it just goes to show that I was right. Good things do come to those who wait, and I've been waiting patiently for 3 years. This is my time to shine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, undoubtedly, the winner of this fight gets a nice catapult in some other big nights. They can be pushed on much quicker, you'd feel, than the loser here. So credit to you both for taking the fight at this stage of your careers, obviously for the WBO European, which is a nice belt. But yeah, enough of that. I just want to quickly get your take on a couple of other fights, Archie, if you don't mind, that are happening in and around your weight. James Tennyson is daring to be great. A couple of weeks after your fight, he travels out to the States to fight Tevin Farmer. Do you know enough about both guys to give your opinion on that one?
To tell you the truth, I know Tevin Farmer fight a few times. I think he's a very good boxer. He's clever. He's had a couple of losses at the start. He's come back. He's done well. He's a good fighter. Tennyson has showed great strength and heart against, obviously, Ward. Do I think that was the best Ward that we've seen? No, I don't. But in the day, he done what he had to do, and got the job done. And good luck to him. He's down to fight for world title. So I probably would say would back Farmer in this, but we'll see. Do you know what I mean? We'll see. Because in the day, Tennyson is a good fighter.
Yeah, for sure. Good fight, that one. And of course, I've got to ask you about...
He's a big Super-Featherweight as well.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I have to ask you about the big one this weekend, Arch. How do you see it, Triple G and Canelo? The rematch, no draw, please.
Great, yeah, no, great fight. I'm backing out for this fight. It's an argument before, don't get me wrong. But, I'm going to back Alvarez, yeah. I think he might outbox him, to be honest with you.
You reckon points?
I think the points win Alvarez, yes, I do. But like I say in the day, it's an hard fight, do you know what I mean? They're both great fighters, so I think it's just more about opinion than who you like, I think.
Yeah. And any closing words from yourself now? It can be a message to anybody that's listening. It can also be a message, if you like, to Lyon. Have you got anything at all to say just before I let you go?
No, listen, I'll just say to everyone tuning in on this October the 6th, do you know what I mean? It's a good fight. It's a great fight. Me and Lyon are putting a lot on the line. I'm putting my unbeaten record. I'm going to Leicester. He's putting his unbeaten record on the line and the WBO on the line. So at the end of the day, it's an attacking fight. Both of us got, it's a big fight for both of us. And yeah, tune in and stay stay tuned on the October the 6th at Leicester.
There we go, there we go. Listen, Archie, I'd like to wish you the absolute best of luck for the 6th. Thank you so much for your time once again, and we'll catch up sometime after, as always.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, and this concludes what has been episode 152 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Summer has been Ayaz Summer. The biggest thanks of all goes out to you, the listeners, for making this podcast what it is. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show, Archie Sharp and Demetrius Andrade. That's back-to-back shows that have only featured undefeated guests, including 2 world champions there. The prediction league stands at myself on 52 points, Ayaz on 54, but you, the listeners, in the lead on 55. It is very close at the moment. One piece of news has been revealed since we've been recording the show. Eddie Hearn's 27th of October Copper Box card has now been fully announced in terms of the big fights. I'm really looking forward to this card. We have Craig Richards against Jake Ball, Ted Cheeseman against Asinia Byfield, John Ryder versus the undefeated Andre Sorokin. That fight tops the bill, actually. That's a world title final eliminator. Go on, John. Ryan Doyle against Jordan Gill, and finally, last but not least, Mr. Isaac Chamberlain against Luke the Duke Watkins. What a fantastic card that is. Remember, everybody, if you do get a chance, please leave us a review on iTunes. Make sure you all have a fantastic weekend, people. I know that you will. What a fantastic weekend of fights we have in store this week. The big one, the rematch. Remember, stay safe, and we shall see you all next week.